Inspiring careers. Exciting. Today we have a young lady who is considerably younger than me. She is a former IT sales superstar. And to tell you what, she has packed a lot in and she's done a couple of career pivots, which was why I wanted to get her on the show. And I have to tell you, I'm incredibly excited to welcome Jacquelyn Adama. How you going?
Yeah, great. Thank you so much for having me.
Oh, no, I've known you several years. I've always admired you as a sales professional, etc. And I was just intrigued over the last couple of years with the whole career pivot. I admire you for doing it. I want to talk about that today because it takes great courage more than anything. We've got different types of work these days, etc. But I'd love you to give everybody a rundown on that. What I thought we'd do is just, I'm not going to do chronological, but you've had such an interesting life already. I'm making it sound like Eamon Andrews, this is your life. Tell everybody where you're from, first of all, and tell them about the degree you did and then that painting job that you had.
Oh,
right?
yes. All right. So I'm from Canada. I'm actually from Vancouver Island, so a very small island off the west coast of Canada. It's about the size of one of the islands of New Zealand, so small population. But I've been out in Australia for almost 20 years, 19 years now. So that's an incredibly long time, but started off so I went to university in science, actually. And during that time, I actually
you don't need to be derogatory towards science. It's a very honourable profession. Were you thinking at the time of becoming a research scientist, or what was the logic in that?
Yeah, it was. I loved chemistry. I loved biochemistry.
Yes.
And then, but at the same time, while I was in uni, I got the opportunity to open up a painting business. So not art, but painting houses, residential houses as well as commercial buildings. And so I was running a business at the same time that I was going to uni. And then I was like, I loved the business aspect. And then I started to think about, am I going to be a researcher, just wearing a cloak all day, every day. And so I had a bit of a change of heart.
Now, listen, I do have to ask you because my kids laugh at me because I suffer terribly from vertigo. When you're doing this painting business and you're doing commercial buildings, did you have to go up on ladders or, skyscrapers and that sort of stuff while you were painting?
Yeah, I did. I had to go up on ladders and I had to go up scaffolding or go in what they call like a cherry picker where it cranes you up a little bit. I've fallen some great lengths. And this is something that you don't realize until you get older, is that it's a lot easier to fall when you're younger and your bones are a lot more nimble.
Age is all a state of mind, isn't it? I can say that, lads, because I'm slightly older. But and then, so you come to Australia. I believe you've got a twin sister, yeah?
I do, yeah.
Okay. Was it a whim? Why did you come here?
We went, great question. We went traveling. So we wanted to go to Asia, and then we were coming to Australia for 6 months. That was it, to work and see the world. And then we were going to go back to Canada. So it was just a little bit of a trip that we took, but it ended up being a lifetime.
So did you then therefore fall into IT when you came down here?
No. It took a very different,
I can't keep up with you.
Yeah, there you go.
No, this is great. Go ahead.
Yeah. So we actually got to Australia. And my parents called us and they'd said they'd gone bankrupt, right? So that changed, I think, the way of the next few years for us, because we're like, well, there's nothing to fall back on. There's, we got to forge our own way forward from here. So we ended up staying in Australia a lot longer and had a bunch of different jobs, like had office jobs, did hospitality jobs, and then found a career in IT sales. So
sorry, excuse my ignorance, but I will ask you, how did you get there? How did you get started then?
Into IT sales? Yeah, great. I went for a role. It was actually at a company called Zomato. It used to be called Urban Spoon. Do you recall it?
Vaguely, yes.
So ad tech, and got started in there doing sales. So just applied for the job, got it, and exceeded at the role.
And then you were at Marketo? Was Marketo after that?
Marketo, from there to Marketo.
Yes.
To New Relic, and then on to GitHub, which is owned by Microsoft.
Okay, so let me ask you 2 questions on that. I've got 100 already because my head's like a computer, sadly. Right. Why were you so successful in IT sales?
Good question. I think there's a couple of key things that it really came down to. And one of the reasons that I really love IT sales so much is that it is one of those areas that the more effort you put in to something, the more rewards that you get from it.
Okay.
And so 2 of the key things that that drove me in the beginning is that, I always wanted to get the next job. I always wanted to get the one that was above me. So I'd have to go in and be brilliant at the one that I was at. And that would just mean picking up the phone a lot, really investing in myself to do that, but then to start to do the role above me as well. So I'd put my hand up for any opportunity to be, to do the job above me. Like, so when I was an SDR, I became really great. I'd crush my number, my monthly number quarterly, and then I'd start to do the demos. I'd ask people, hey, could I demo for you this customer? Could I demo for that? And that's how I went from an SDR to being a solutions consultant.
Yes.
Straight away, is that I just started doing it. So I had to be so good they couldn't ignore me, so that when the headcount opened up for that role, I was already doing that job. How could you ignore it? I was already there.
Yes. Now, interesting, because you've given me a video idea for our career guidance channel.
Yeah.
Question for you without notice, as all my questions are. In that situation, are they receptive to you? Will they say, oh, no, you stay in your box? Or were the various people in the companies did they say, oh, that's a great idea, Jacquelyn, we'll let you do that?
They were receptive only if I'd hit my number in the current role. So I had to make sure that I showed commitment to the job that I was in. Like, yes, I could be an SDR. Yes, I could hit all the targets that I had, and I'd blow that out of the water. But then, so if I wanted to dip my toes and spend, a bit of the rest of the week working on the next job above me, leveling up to that role, then that was fine to do.
Yeah, no, I'm not being awkward. Just sometimes people get a little bit threatened, etc. So that leads me to ask you then. I mean, you're a young lass who's flamboyant and you've got a lot of flair, but did you do training as a sales professional? Did you study? Did you have... I'm just curious as to how you became... I'm not being sycophantic. You became incredibly good at it very quickly.
Yeah.
How did that happen?
Good question. So, you know what? Couple of things here. Don't wait for someone to train you. So I would always go train myself, and I'd look to get help from the people around me, my colleagues and everything like that. So that's one thing. I definitely wouldn't wait for it to come to me. I would force it to come to me. And then the second thing is I had incredible mentors within along on my career throughout every single company. I paid for sales coaching. I've spent tens of thousands of dollars on sales coaching.
I was going to ask you what format. No, okay, it's your show. Give somebody a plug. Give us a mentor that we can give a plug.
Yeah, great. So mentor that we can give a plug. I've got a number. Jason Leonidas. He was great. He was great to me. My colleagues. I worked with a guy named Luke Boatman, Stuart Cochran. They were really great for me.
I've listed him a couple of times.
Yeah. Brent Goodman was really great to me. Sharon Napier. Yeah. So these have all been my leaders and mentors and people that have been incredibly good to me throughout the years.
So let's talk about sales coaching. And as I said, I'm off on a complete tangent, and she's very uncomfortable because she doesn't know where I'm going with this. How do you make that decision? And do you pay a lot of money for that? And do you get value out of it?
On sales coaching, yes.
You got people in. Were they expert coaches or who were they? I don't see a lot of people doing that.
Yes.
In our industry, to be fair, yeah?
Yes. So I spent loads of money. So what I did is I went and I looked at who were the people that were doing the deals that I wanted to do. Right, the size of deals, the bigger deals. And a lot of these people weren't actually in Australia. They're in the US, they're in Europe, and they'd, set up things. So I'd get online coaching with them. They'd enroll into programs. Yes, it cost me tens of thousands of dollars to do that. And obviously I'd be training late at night or really early in the morning, depending on what time zone they're in. But I got to learn how they would approach a deal and how they would make it bigger and bigger and bigger over time, so that I could take a lot of that back and apply that to my own deals so I could learn through them. So I looked to the people that were, doing deals that were worth, 20 to 50 million bucks.
No,
it's hard to do that in Asia Pacific, to be honest.
I'm loving where we're going with this because it is completely original.
Yeah.
So let me ask you this. Were those people in the IT game or were they in other industry sectors?
IT game. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
North America, Britain, etc. Now, did you then use that? I'm interested in this. How generous were you then with your knowledge towards people that you may have worked in any of these? Did you give a little bit of that knowledge to other people?
Yes, absolutely. Yeah. I'd bring that into my own teams that I was in, just my, small teammates or whatever team I was on. But then also to the people that I, that worked within my teams, right? Like my, as I was in enterprise sales, my SDRs, those types of people, any way that I could give any of the coaching that I've got, because it's ultimately a team that kicks the goal, right?
Yes,
so even though I might be paying for the training from someone else, I actually need to apply that to the group in order for us to be able to benefit from it.
And I mean, I should know this because I know your background inside out, but Have you been a you've been offered sales leadership roles?
Yeah.
Have you taken them?
No, I haven't.
So let's tell everybody now, why did you decide to continue to be an individual contributor in IT sales?
That's great question. So I think I really wanted to have massive years, right? Where I owned my own time and I was able to deliver on, like, kick some real goals, right? So, I think my last year I made almost $900,000, just
Okay.
like $1,000 short. So
we mightn't give that number out in case the tax man phones are up on Monday, by the way. Keep that to yourself.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. So, and I was kind of, tracking to $1 million. And then that's where obviously my career pivot got, in the way of, what I really wanted to do. And I'm sure we'll get to that.
I'm excited to talk about that. Yeah.
So that was it. And obviously that I treated it like you're the CEO of your own territory anyways. Like, everyone that was in my team was someone for me to help and lead along the way anyways, to some degree, right? So I got to put those skills into practice being an enterprise sales rep.
Yes. So on that basis then, and I'm going to talk about the pivot shortly, but if we look at the IT game, I mean, are you proud of your career so far?
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
Why are you proud of it?
I'm proud of it because it's helped me become me. Like, I think I told, when we first started, got to Australia, found out, life's changed quite dramatically, right? And so you go through a period of, like, maybe not living to your true potential. But then once you do lock into something that you actually really, you can really get around, like, your whole spirit gets around it, really unlocks who you are. And I think that's what my career has helped me do. I've changed a lot along the way. And it's led me to living the life that I want to lead.
Yes. Yeah. Now that's fascinating on the basis that do you think, I mean, you're still the same person you were 20 years ago?
No, no, I don't think so.
What's changed then? Even personality. What's different about? I mean, this is completely offline, by the way.
Less.
But well, Jesus, I mean, we're out with this mob after this, so let's not make that comment.
Yeah.
But what have you transitioned into? What have you come from? The butterfly. What were you, and what are you now?
Yeah. I don't know, who knows what I was, I suppose. I think where I'm at now is, like, I own my own time, my own space. I'm in control of my own destiny. And that feels really, really good. And it wasn't that I wasn't then, but, you step into it more. And I think going through a pivot where I loved having that ownership of my own life and my own time, but now I really want to help other people on that journey as well.
Okay.
And that's the big pivot for me. As much as it is career, it's also, like, the career that's helped me get there.
So we're going to talk about pivoting now, and then I'm going to duck in and out because I've got 100 questions for you. But so let me ask you a question which I am intrigued by on behalf of young people, right?
Yeah.
You've always struck me as a beautiful young lass. You're very well mannered. You're generous with your time. Were you confident 20 years ago?
No.
So are you suddenly evolving as a personality in terms of being more confident about you?
Yes.
As a result of your career?
Yes. Great.
Okay.
You nailed it.
So let's just look at that and we'll run that in parallel, right?
Mm-hmm.
Tell everybody about what you're doing now, and then I wanted you to tell them about how long you planned for it. I've got a million questions for you.
Yeah.
Let's talk about, Jacquelyn has got a wonderful transition to tell all our young people about. In fact, that's not fair, and I'm not going to spruik our career guidance channel, but anybody can do a career pivot, right? You don't have to be 18, you don't have to be 60. It's all about where you're at in your career and what makes you happy, right? So tell us about the pivot that you've done and why you did it.
Yeah, great. So I've pivoted into real estate and specifically helping people buy investment properties. So being able to, build up an investment portfolio so that they can, build themselves an off-ramp out of corporate life should they so choose.
Yes.
Can't even say.
Yeah.
And why did I make this pivot? Well, the skills became very transferable, right? I'm building, if you think about working as an enterprise account executive in a big firm, my book of business was bigger than most small to medium businesses in terms of turnover, right? So I realized I had this, revelation that I was building someone else's business when I could be building my own.
Yeah.
And then with that as well, it just kind of comes to a point in your life where you're like, okay, I've gone and I've done a lot of this for myself, and I want to help other people on that same journey. That's what I really wanted to do.
Now, let me ask you this then. On that basis then, were you always interested in real estate? You chose real estate, if you like, as your investment vehicle, your investment strategy.
Yeah.
have you always been interested in real estate?
I've always been interested in real estate. I think it was a no-brainer for me. There's some aspect, as I mentioned, I come from a background of maybe not of having some financial instability. So having financial means, having financial security is really, really important to me. And I think there's a bit of a psychological safety net there, having property,
Yes.
knowing that you've got something physical that, you can always sell or move into, so you always know that you're going to be okay.
Yeah, yeah. Let me ask you this. How do you manage that and keep some sort of salary coming in the front door? I mean, if you plan for it over 5 years, one of the things that I observe when we're doing a video on is that people are always frightened of career pivoting because they perceive that they go from earning X to earning Y, which is considerably less. How did you do that?
Yeah. Also that comes from building up an investment property portfolio. So I've definitely walked the talk, and I built up an asset base so that I can have a passive income, or if I needed to sell something, I could, right? So that to me gave me the safety net to then make the pivot. And reality is, if you're, how much money do you really, really need at the end of the day to get coming in the door?
Spend it on, doesn't it?
That's exactly it.
My price elasticity for bottles of Chardonnay's gone from probably the Oxford Landing $4 up to the old Scarborough Chardonnay 30-35. So that's all a reflection of having a few bob. Yeah. Let me ask you this. I'm really enjoying this. Let me ask you this.
Yeah.
What new skills have you had to develop in this new career?
New skills? It's a good question, because I think so many of them have been transferable, to be honest. If you think about it, you're as an enterprise rep, you're like I said, the CEO of your own territory, and you're managing a number of stakeholders, both internally and externally.
Yeah.
And when it comes down to the construct of a property deal, you are managing you're managing the sellers, right, and their stakeholders, who are, maybe it's their solicitor and their agent, but then also your clients. So for me, it's my clients, and I make sure that they have their own board of directors, right? There better be, there's an accountant in there, there's a financial advisor in there, there's the conveyancer, there's myself, there's, whoever, the mortgage broker. So there's a whole panel on each side. And I've always been used to having to work with both sides, right?
Yes.
To align all these people to make sure that we get the right outcome for our client, and we got to work with them to make sure that we find the right path so that we get the deal done.
An ignorant question, my part, and I apologize on behalf of myself and everybody, but I will ask you, what's the difference between a real estate agent and a buyer's agent?
Yeah. So we're buying for the client. So what we do is we're sitting down and looking at, what are your goals? Are you trying to buy property to get a passive income so that you can retire early and have something that pays you? Or are you just trying to find a mechanism to pay off your own home faster by, building wealth through property so you can shrink that 30-year mortgage maybe into 10 years or less? So we look at it from a goal perspective, and then we buy the assets based on that. So we're buying for an outcome. And a lot of times my clients will never even see the property that they buy, right? It's there to deliver on the ends of a financial means for them, at which point they'll either keep it or sell it.
And I presume you guys therefore do national. You do all over Australia. You may do Asia, etc.
Yeah,
I was excited that Jacquelyn's got big plans for her advisory business, etc. Question again, excuse my ignorance.
Yeah.
Do you need to do courses? Do you need to have any regulatory bodies on site? I'm curious as to what you have to do to become official so that people can trust you, if you like.
Yeah, correct. So, great question. So I've become a real estate agent, of course, as first and foremost.
Do you have to do that to be a buyer's agent?
Yeah, absolutely.
Okay, well, that's a good start.
Yeah. And to start your own buyer's agency, I actually need to become a licensee. So I've gone through that whole process as well.
Yeah.
And going back to your original question, what was the transition like? It was 2 years. So I've been training with a trainer, business coach, everything in the background, and going and setting that up in parallel while having my own job and starting to take on clients. I have my own portfolio as well. So I've done a lot of the learning for everyone.
Yeah.
So that's what it took.
Now, if you're doing this new role, having done painting and decorating and then being a superstar in the IT sales field, what are you doing now for personal development? Are you doing different courses? Are you doing different study? I'm curious as to what you're doing now for you to get to the same level in that industry that you were at in IT sales.
Yeah. I'm doing a lot of it, even actually a lot more than I even used to do, because there's aspects of owning a business, there's aspects of property investing, and also development. So I'm training and mentoring in all three of those areas, and then I also learning social media as well. I got to be honest, I've always been someone who's not been super present on socials.
No, I can't believe that. You're a I mean, I am a dinosaur, right? They're dragging me
so
screaming
am
and
I.
shouting on the LinkedIn and that, but you're a young lass that I would have thought would be trendy full stop. Do you have an Instagram account?
I only got one because I had to for this, right? I was like, okay, I got to quit the internal narrative that I don't do social media. And so I've had to start it. So also going through that learning process and doing a bunch of different skills and learning, because I didn't even know how to, do the selfie thing with the screen in the background, right? And so, doing the Google, how do I make my screen like this? It was just, and you know what? When you don't know, it takes you so long to figure it out. This is where I wish I had my nieces and nephews younger and they could show me how to do these TikTok things and stuff.
Yes,
but yeah.
Yes, I will give you an anecdote and say that I've only ever done one selfie, and it was Jake that took it when we were standing up there with Georgia Lee.
Yeah.
So there you go. That's the cards on the table. I'm not exactly the social media leader, as it were.
Yeah.
In terms of you then, I mean, you've got a very active life. What do you do? What do you do for you away from work to relax then? I mean, do you do these adventures? You're an Iron Woman. You strike me that it's all adrenaline. What do you do to relax?
No, and it's not relaxing for most people. I'm a gym junkie. I go to the gym every day, and I actually do get really, really relaxed by that. And I listen, oddly enough, I listen to a book while I'm there all the time, or maybe a podcast. So whatever I do, I've kind of got a podcast in my ear. I love mowing the lawn as well. I have a Rydam lawnmower. And this is really weird. Everyone's like, wow.
You are definitely getting off the tangent. Right. How big is your property on a couple of acres?
Yeah.
Okay,
I live on an acre.
We had 10 acres in Barrel. I had a ride-on for years, etc. Why do you like using a ride-on lawnmower?
Because I just love drawing stuff in the grass and making sure the lines are crisp. And I'm always listening to something. Doesn't matter where I go. I'm always trying to educate myself at the same time. So there's nothing more relaxing. I'm just going to listen to my book and then, perfect my lawn today. Yeah.
Now that reminds me, I would have thought in Queensland that you would actually have lots of rain and lots of sun, which means that it's like living in a greenhouse, isn't it? Which means you have to cut it all the time. Yeah.
You do, yeah.
Yeah, and it makes
really early in the morning at 7 a.m. Right?
Okay.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this. What advice would you have for people that want to make a career transition generator? We can talk about that in depth, and then we're going to talk about industry trends and technologies, etc. But give me 3 or 4 pieces of advice that I've got a lot of people that are scared to do this, and I'm looking at doing a video on it.
Yeah.
What advice would you give people who want to do a career pivot?
I would say go start testing it out while you can. And sure, whether it's doing it on the weekends or doing it at night after, so just so that you get a sense that it's something you like. But then once you've got that, you've probably already got the skills there, right? We learn so much in our corporate jobs that translates over well into running a business. So just get in and give it a go. What's the worst that could happen? That you just get into a job that'll take, your job will take you back probably 9 times out of 10. What's the worst that could happen? That's it. But you'll always regret the thing that you didn't do. And that's what was happening for me.
Even though sorry, this is interesting. Even though you're making big money as an IT sales professional, you didn't feel personally satisfied, for want of a better word.
Yeah, which is kind of crazy.
Now, I'm getting on the dangerous ground here because I still work in the IT game.
Yeah.
So what about the IT game didn't satisfy you?
It's just, I guess I had there's a transition that I went through, always doing a lot of work, right? I worked my butt off, right? And that activity became obviously expected at some point. And there's a lot of disruption in that with AI that's happening. And I just I realized I was working so hard and I was building someone else's business. And I'm eternally grateful for that, by the way. But I'm if I'm going to work this hard, why don't I do it for me? Why don't I build my brand and my thing? So that's where I just had to get the courage and go do it.
And you've used a great word there. I mean, I always laugh with people because I've had my own business for 30 odd years, but that's because I'm sadly unemployable. That's not to do with talent. But how did you get the courage up to think, well, crikey, I might end up on commission only as opposed to earning all this big money, hey?
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's exactly it, right?
Yeah.
You gotta be responsible for everything. But, it's a risk I was willing to take because I was working, working so much. And not that that's a bad thing. That's maybe just the innate nature of me. But then I might as well be doing this and building the life that I really, really want to have. I think that there's, the most amazing things about tech. I got to travel, got to see so many people, but then those things started as I get a bit older, right? They'll wear a little bit
Can you
longer.
stop doing that as I get older? But because Christ almighty, you're about 20 years younger than me and you could still get plenty of time in you.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this then. I'm curious again, and I'm not prying into your business, but how do buyer's agents, do you charge a spotter's fee? Do you charge a consultancy fee? How do you charge? You don't have to tell me what you charge. Yeah. Just if anybody, we're going to plug you here in a minute in terms of what you see for the IT game, etc. But how do you charge people?
Yes, just a flat fee for people. So they come along, we'll obviously have an initial discussion and I understand what it is that they're trying to achieve. If I can help them, maybe I can't, and that's happened before too. I think, what you're looking for is probably not within the realms of how I can help you. But if we can, then we kick off an engagement and we put together a plan on property that we're going to buy them and we get going. So it's just a flat fee.
And the company's called Buyer's Boutique. So we'll get some sort of link put up to that. Now, let me ask you this.
Yeah.
Are you therefore proactive? I mean, you're a top-notch salesperson. Are you out there looking in every state? You must have to be proactive so that when people come to you, you've already got ideas for them. What do you do?
Yeah.
What skills from the IT sales world do you take into this job to make sure that you're the best at this?
Yeah. I think my default setting is to look at how do I maximize, like as a sales rep, right, as well, how do I maximize my returns and how can I turn $1 into $2 as fast as possible? That's sort of always been my thing ever since I've been in IT is look at how can we get this book of business from here to here, right? So that's what I have to look at that, like for my clients, right? How do we take their money and take it from here to here as fast as possible? So that's the sort of strategy that I put behind it. Obviously, if there's ways that we can do it to unlock what I call equity faster for people. If they're willing to do a little bit of extra work. And so I can give them all those strategies and those plans and we buy for that.
And why real estate and not shares? I mean, ask a guy who's a terrible investor but is learning fast and enjoying it. Yeah. Why real estate and not shares?
Probably real estate, I've just gone down that path is because real estate, as being a painter coming from that, I got to go into people's houses. So this is, when I had my painting businesses, I was about 18, 19, 20 when I lived in Canada. And I got to see firsthand people get me to come in and stage their house and help them get it ready for sale. And I got to see firsthand valuations come back and see like, oh, our paint job actually, they got a $45,000 more in terms of the valuation on their house after it getting painted alone. So I know that there's things that you can do to properties to be able to engineer more dollars. That's putting $1 in and getting $2 out. And, in today's world, and who doesn't want to do that, right? We're just setting you up for your retirement ramp.
You've given me an idea for a real estate show for you, which I'll discuss off air.
Let
me ask you this, therefore. On that basis, how do you make a value judgment as to how much you're going to invest in training for you?
What do you mean? Like
you've spent X amount on sales training. Did you think if I spend 20 grand on it, I'll make 200 grand if I spend it? You seem to be very focused on investing in you.
Yes.
How do you work out what sort of return you're going to get on that?
It's more, it's more thinking like the types of deals that I want to do and like where I want to end up being. And I know it's not going to come overnight, but to your point, like if I go and I learn from someone who's doing $50 million deals and my average deal size was $1 million, do you think I'm going to be able to up mine to a couple million? And in most, SaaS companies, that would be a 200 or 300% year, right?
Yes.
So the maths is there. That's a great outcome.
Yeah, no, I think it's absolutely wonderful.
Yeah.
Let me ask you this then. I mean, with the work that you're doing now, let's give her a plug, give us a plug, give you a plug. Tell everybody a couple of ideas that you've got. If they want to engage with you, how can they engage with you? And what do you do differently for something? I mean, we talked about the IT game where there's a lot of salespeople, etc. But why are you excited, I suppose, about what you do now?
Yeah, I'm excited to help people, right? Like, I'm
Yeah.
excited to help people build wealth. I'm excited for them not to get their tax bill at the end of the year and get shocked and be like, how is this happening? Like, how do I help them build an off-ramp or help them build options, right? So that's one of the things that I get to do really, really well. Get to put together big feasibilities and that for people. I'm not just looking at the house purchase. We're looking at other things that we can do with dollars that they have to be able to purchase a house and uplift the value of that and do that a lot more quickly. So rather than waiting, 10 years for it to double in time, what are the ways that we can shorten that time frame? So that's some of the stuff that I'm doing with my clients, and it's really fun and exciting because we were able to grow their net wealth, their net worth, 2 or 3 times in what it would take normally.
So it's almost like when you're talking to people, you try and come up with a tangible ROI for them based on
That's
if
it.
you deal with me, et cetera, et cetera. Yeah.
So we built, I used to building business cases.
Yes.
So I look at every property like it's its own business. So it has its own P&L, and what are the ways that we can do to raise revenue in this property itself? How can we raise its top line, right? How we can get additional income streams potentially coming into that property, and how can we reduce the debt on the bottom side? So it's both of those so that they can get that passive income, or like I say, or maybe it's paying off the dream home or something like that a lot faster.
Yeah. Now, let me ask you this question. How does technology help you in this gig then? I know you mentioned social media and we're all struggling with it, but are there certain pieces of technology that you can use to make your job more effective, like software that shows people are? Give us a view on that as well. Just tell people, what you're doing for them and what your mindset now has changed in terms of the technology that you use, if you like.
Yeah, so I use a lot of different tech in our role or in our company. So there's different modules that pulling in. But different stuff that I'm looking at, I guess, like how is population coming into Australia? How are different infrastructure projects overlaying that? Then looking at how are we going to see the growth in that area? What is the affordability of these particular areas? And what does that look like on the longer term trajectory? Putting together, modeling and stuff. So been able to use AI to do a lot of modeling in that as well when it comes to people's portfolios and business cases. So that's been really good. And then, as you said, on the AI front, like definitely using a bit of Claude and stuff to help me instead of me sitting there and being like dribbling on an Instagram video and giving it the monologue. I'm like, these are all my massive thoughts, but can you help me condense that into 60 seconds? And that has been a treat.
Okay. Now, listen, once again, curiosity on my part.
Yeah.
How reliable is the data that you get? Like at the start of the year of the Commie Bank or these real estate companies say RP data says, the real estate's going to go up 7% this year. How reliable is that?
None of it, right? You can see they're all revising their forecast because, well, first of all, no one knows like Iran war is coming and a budget change is coming and all this kind of stuff. So, whatever forecast that you're seeing from a bank has probably never actually been accurate. And to that note, I actually have a number of different data sources because they all come up with different things. So you actually have to triangulate what the real number is, right? Because something might get data that says, you have this many sales over here, and then the next one might say it's much lower. So trying to find that center, that truth is a lot harder than one would think in real estate.
And I suppose the question that evolves out of that is, how do you put people's minds at rest, therefore, when they come to, because everybody thinks that real estate is a gilt-edged investment. And I know the hard way that it's not, right? But how do you put their mind at rest?
Yeah, it's by looking for as much data that comes from a single source of truth as possible, I guess, by overlaying a lot of it, and then looking at there's like 120 different metrics that we look at that are main ones. There's a lot of other little ones as well, but there's 120 main metrics that we need to look at to make sure a property is going to be a right fit. So if you're going to hit that and across a number of different platforms that are going to indicate yes, these are all true, then I think we're on a winner. So we do a lot of time analyzing data when it comes to picking the right location in the right suburb.
Can I just add to that, and I'm not trying to be a smart arse, but I would have thought as well that one of your skills would be that the more data you get from the people who come to see you, the better, on the basis that you really have to qualify exactly what they're looking for.
Of course,
so that they don't let themselves down, if you like. Because, I always have a laugh with people as a punter who bred some of Australia's slowest racehorses, that your average headhunter is half a length above your average real estate agent in the food chain of life.
Yeah.
Thankfully, I don't take myself too seriously. But are you good at qualifying, getting to know people, getting them to trust you?
You mean my clients or the
Yeah,
agents?
your clients.
Clients. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
Is that a natural
Clients.
thing that you've always had?
Yes, I think so. Well, like, look, actually one of my sales coaches told me a long time ago, and it's probably one of the best pieces of advice I always stick to. That's always stuck with me is just listen to people, listen to what they want, and help them get that.
Okay.
And
Okay.
if you think about it, if that's all you're doing is listening to people, what do they truly, truly want? And you're truly just trying to help them get that. Like, yeah, you're going to build up trust, and you're also going to help them win because that's what you're there to do at the end of the day.
Now, listen, this is your North Star, and I'm really pleased for you, and I'm delighted on your journey. And I will say, by the way, that Jacquelyn's going to do some work with us on our careers channel because I'm convinced that people need to actually learn to manage money as part of their career journey.
Mm-hmm.
So we're looking at a few ideas. That she's a wonderful young lady, etc. I'm going to completely go left to center. You're always upbeat.
Yeah.
You strike me as a major Hollywood success story, or whatever the equivalent is in Canada. Bad times in your career. Have you had anything that, have you had a couple of hiccups, shall we say, along the way?
Of course, there's hiccups. Of course there is. Nothing's ever a straight line.
Yeah.
I said the first few years of you talk about
in your own career. No,
Yeah.
What's the biggest disappointment in your career?
I think like the first few years that I was in Australia, I dabbled in a lot of different jobs. And while that all those things are character building and help you find your way, like they were never me tapping into my true potential.
Yes.
Until I got it really into IT sales. So, if someone's going through that, I would say don't be disappointed. Like, it'll get there, but you will get there. So that's one. Remind me what the question was again.
Oh, no, I'm going to go off the note. Well, let me ask you another question on that. Yeah. Did you see a change in the culture in the IT game in the 10, 15 years you were in it?
Did I see it change? Yes.
Yeah. Positive or negative?
So I have to think about that one for a bit because it has positives and its negatives.
Okay.
I think, yeah. I think in some cases maybe things got too guarded and you couldn't be as free as
you
possible,
and I in this mob over here will discuss that over a glass of wine, right?
Yeah.
Because I've got one question for you because I'm a very boring man and I always ask the same question to finish. What advice have you got for young people on their career journey?
To get so good in your role that no one can ignore you. That would be one. And the second would be don't wait for someone to train you. Go out there and get it yourself. I think those are the two key things. And then 3, just put up your hand. Put up your hand and get in there, get amongst it, get involved as much as you can. And that's what will help you level up and be seen and be a part of everything so that you can get that next role that you're going for.
One question in conclusion, funny enough, I always say to people, sometimes your personal brand can fall off the map when you start your own business. I mean, you've been in demand, you've been popular in the IT game. Any change in your relationships with the various business people that you know since you started your own business, or has everybody been receptive to you?
Everyone's been really, really receptive. Yeah. It's been really positive for me, actually. Even had an old, client that I used to work with reach out and be like, hey, if you want to help me building your website, not your website, or building any of your back end systems, I'd love to help. I'm starting up my own business as well. So I'd love a case study. So just fun things like that. I'm like, of course, of course, I'd love your help and I'd love to.
I'm going to give you a plug in conclusion. There must be a lot of CIOs out there who have got a few bob in the bank who need somebody to give them advice on real estate. You have to give this young lady a call. Are you happy with that?
Yeah, very happy with that.
Yeah, yes. Well, let's you and I keep talking, keep working together.
Yeah.
Wonderful young lady, Jacquelyn Adama. I admire people who've got the courage to go and start a business. She's an absolute star. Please enjoy the podcast. We'll be back in 4 weeks' time with another wonderful lady. My name is John Waters. This is Inspiring Careers. I keep saying this is career guidance, but that's our other channel because I'm senile. Enjoy your day and thank you.